As we welcome you into another edition of For the People, I'm John Holt. Kansas, of course, has 4 congressional districts, generally viewed as a bright red state. There is one exception, the Kansas 3rd, held by Democrat Sharice Davids, now in her 4th term. When the legislature moved half of Democrat-heavy Wyandotte County from the 3rd to the big 1st and added 3 rural counties to the 3rd, it was widely believed that move 2 years ago was designed to boost the GOP's chances to win back the 3rd. Joining me now from the campaign trail, he's in Wellington right now. He's running for Secretary of State Representative Pat Proctor, who also chairs the Elections Committee. Representative Proctor, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you being here with us on the campaign trail.
Thanks for having me, John. I appreciate it.
Let's start with what we just finished up with. That was actually 3 years ago, 2022, the Ad Astra 2 map. That was designed to perhaps oust Sharice Davids back then. Is this the do-over? Because it clearly didn't work. She won by double digits in a second go-around.
You know, the American people voted for President Trump's America First agenda, including me. And the California is trying to put their thumb on the scale to stop that agenda. And so if there's something that Kansas can do to right that ship for the nation, I'm proud to be a small part of it.
Let me ask you about the Trump agenda, because in Missouri's case, in the case of Indiana, Texas, certainly other states that have redistricted in mid-decade, the president played a key role. How much pressure is the White House putting on Kansas now to try to get that 4th seat back in GOP hands?
Yeah, like I said, the people of Kansas voted overwhelmingly for President Trump, and they support his agenda. So it's not like we're having to have our arm twisted here. We believe in what the president's trying to do, and Democrats in California are trying to redraw their maps to stop that agenda. And so we have the opportunity to redraw our maps to counteract that, and I think we owe it to the whole nation.
Let's focus now on Johnson County, because I think, and I refer to our friend, Professor Michael Smith from the Emporia State University, who's been on this program before. He's an expert at these kinds of matters. He says there's absolutely no way to draw a 4-0 Republican map without splitting Johnson County. We're going to take a look right now at the current map, which is, of course, the map that was passed in 2022 and then survived that Supreme Court challenge, Kansas Supreme Court, I should say. And Professor Smith has come up with his own map, a hypothetical version. We've not been privy to the maps that might be circulating right now, but indeed, it does divide Johnson County and moves Wyandotte County back in now to the 2nd congressional district and adds about 10, 12 counties, rural counties, to the 3rd. And here is the reason why. Let's go right to the numbers, and there's a look at the metro. So you can see Johnson County essentially divided. It looks to be at about Shawnee Mission Parkway, south for the 3rd and north for the 2nd. The Johnson County factor for Sharice Davids is very impressive. That's been the key. In her last election, 2024, if we take a look at that graphic, she got 89% of her votes from Johnson County. So the redistricting done 3 years ago clearly did not impact her chances. Of the 208,000 votes, 187,000 from Johnson County. Really, Johnson County's the key here, isn't it?
I've seen all kinds of maps too. Nobody has drawn a map. And I want to make it absolutely clear to all your viewers at home. I've seen so many crazy maps on Facebook. There aren't any maps yet.
Okay.
We haven't even agreed that we're going to go into special session. That's going to be a decision for both houses of the legislature to make. I would just point out that the last time we did redistricting, we had to divide Wyandotte County in 2 along I-70 because the simple facts are Wyandotte County and Johnson County are the most populous part of the state, and you have to equally apportion all of these congressional districts. So no matter how you slice it, there's too many people in Wyandotte, Johnson County to make up a congressional district. So I would just hope that people, kind of take a deep breath, wait for the legislature to decide, are we going to go into special session, which I don't know if you saw the news about the Attorney General, but we've got another reason now to go into special session, and let the legislature work through that process as the representatives of the people of Kansas, and then we'll get the maps and we'll make a decision as a body.
And I do want to talk about what still has to happen before you do that, including the Attorney General's letter. But let's take a look at this again. Professor Michael Smith, he's an expert at this. He's put these maps together. He's actually done it for the Kansas legislature, I believe, in the past. And he's using software that knows how to divide things up. Here's a question for you regarding, let's just assume that this hypothetical map is close. The Kansas 3rd then becomes heavy Republican, 52 to 44%. The Kansas 2nd, though, shrinks to lean Republican, only a 5-point spread there. If that happens, do you put the 2nd district and Derek Schmidt in play to become a Democrat congressional district? Are you concerned at all about what we call, I guess, the domino effect here?
Yeah, John, I think that the district should reflect the people of Kansas. And Kansas is a deep red state, and we went overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. And I think that the people of Kansas would like to see the agenda that they voted for go forward. And so there are no maps. I can't really comment to, what percentages are going to be in every district because there are no maps for us to know what the percentages are. And I know the temptation. The last time we did redistricting, I was on one of those websites drawing my own maps, trying to figure out how I'd like my district to look. And you know what? My district looks nothing like those maps that I drew for myself 5 years ago. So it's so tempting to kind of try to do the math yourself. And I encourage people to, do that if they're interested in it, to just understand how hard a problem it is to make sure that our congressional districts reflect the will of Kansans.
Okay, but on that point, we showed earlier the numbers, the importance of Johnson County to Sharice Davids, frankly, to Governor Laura Kelly as well. In a congressional race where you're talking about a slice of the state, not the entire state, and it's clearly a red state, but doesn't Sharice Davids reflect the will of the 3rd Congressional District as it stands now, given her numbers?
Well, I'll just remind you, John, we wouldn't be here and we wouldn't be having this conversation if blue states weren't doing this. And I'll just remind you of what Governor Kelly told the Democrat governors at the Democrat Governors Association. She doesn't believe in unilateral disarmament. And you know what? Neither do I. If the Democrats are going to put their thumb on the scale to stop the America First agenda, then we have a responsibility to the rest of the country, because we have the opportunity to redraw our own maps to correct that problem.
I want to talk a little bit about the special session itself. You alluded to it, the letter from the Attorney General seeking a special session over gender markers. The Kansas Supreme Court this week let stand an appeals court ruling that they can go ahead and begin making those changes on driver's licenses and other documents while a case works its way through the courts, all right? The question I have is, do you have the votes in the House? The Senate, the sense seems to be does, but the House maybe votes short. You have to have 2/3 sign the petition. What are your thoughts on, number one, do you have the votes? And number two, the importance of the Attorney General's call now for a special session? Well, there's some skeptical saying that's why he's doing what he's doing.
No, that's a great question, John. And I think that the Attorney General's call just adds more urgency to the need for a special session. A supermajority in both houses decided over the governor's veto that we should very clearly explain in statute what is a man and what is a woman, because apparently that was in dispute here in Kansas, and apparently it's in dispute in some appeals courts. So if we don't address this issue of shoring up the Women's Bill of Rights that we passed overwhelmingly and then overrode the governor's veto, it's going to be chaos, because what's going to happen is we're going to have a bum rush of folks that are confused about their gender going into the DMV to change their genders. And then when we do address this next session, if we didn't call a special session, we would have to work all of that out.
Do you think
much more sense to just go into special session and fix it?
Do you think his call gets you over the hump then? You think you will have the 2/3?
I am 100 110 support, 10% in support of calling us into special session. I hope my colleagues will agree. And even if they may have questions about redistricting, let's get into special session and let's have the debate on the floor. If for no other reason, to make sure that we fix this problem with the Women's Bill of Rights being overturned.
Representative Pat Proctor of Fort Leavenworth, Representative, thank you so much. You're busy on the campaign trail. Wish you the best of luck in South Central Kansas as you continue. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
When we come back, we'll hear from the loyal opposition.